They made camp just before dark, a quiet stretch near Eagle Creek, Arizona. Stars above, firelight flickering on canvas walls. She knelt beside the bedroll to say her prayers when something caught her attention at the edge of the darkness. She thought it was the wind at first, heavy, moving through the brush. But wind doesn't breathe. Then she saw it. Too tall to be a man, blood red, with a pale rider on its back. She didn't move, didn't scream, frozen by the sight. And as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone, vanished into the darkness. Her husband found her a short time later, still paralyzed by fear. He shook her lightly, begged her to speak. The words she whispered made his blood run cold. It was the devil. The red ghost had arrived. We always make time to visit Arizona. We've enjoyed the splendor of the Grand Canyon, wandered the dusty streets of Tombstone, stood beneath the London Bridge in Lake Havasu. Arizona is full of beauty, sharp desert light, mountains that change color by the hour, history baked into every rock and road sign. But the thing about Arizona is that between the cities are long stretches of silence. And over time, that silence started filling with stories. Not about gold or gunfights, something stranger, something they swore was real. The first reports were tame, tents trampled in the middle of the night, horses spooked, supplies scattered, no tracks, no explanation. Then it happened again. A rancher claimed he saw something, red, massive, moving fast, said it came through his camp like a storm and vanished just as quickly. A miner swore it towered over his horses, said it carried something on its back, something unholy. A soldier said it made no noise at all, not a single sound on the gravel, just the rattling of bones. By the time the newspapers caught on, the details had grown wild. It was massive and mean, covered in tangled red fur, with something strapped to its back that wasn't of this world. Some said it was a ghost, others called it a monster. No one agreed on what it was, but everyone remembered how it made them feel, like the devil himself was combing the desert for souls. For years, the red ghost roamed the Arizona desert, and the stories got louder. According to some accounts, it killed a woman, trampled her to death before disappearing into the brush. It seemed to float across dry riverbeds, crash through campsites, and destroy everything in its path, vanishing into the canyons before anyone could react. But every legend, sooner or later, has to hit the ground. One night in 1893, a rancher named Mizzou Hastings felt the hair stand up on the back of his neck. Fear nearly stopped his heart. Outside of his small shack, he heard something in the darkness. He was well aware of the red ghost. He knew its legend. He knew its fury. Hastings mustered his courage. Tonight, one way or another, he would meet the devil. He stepped outside, saw the outline of the beast, and fired his gun. It dropped heavy, kicking up a cloud of dust so thick he couldn't tell if he killed it or made it angry. But as the dirt settled, the shape held still. Not a ghost, not a demon, a camel, and on its back, strapped down with sun-worn leather, cinched tight across the saddle, were the remnants of a death rider. The bindings were empty. No body, no bones. Just deep marks in the animal's hide, like something had ridden it for a very long time, and then vanished. The red ghost may have been the strangest of them, but it wasn't the only camel to haunt the American West. The U.S. Army brought camels here on purpose, not for stories, for war. In the 1850s, Secretary of War Jefferson Davis had an idea: camels. The U.S. Army imported dozens of camels from North Africa and the Middle East. They were stronger than horses, carried more weight, and didn't need water for days. It was called the Camel Corps. However, just as the Corps began training, the Civil War broke out. Funding dried up, and the project was abandoned. Some camels were sold off. Others were simply turned loose. For decades, they were spotted across the Southwest, from Texas to California, long after the soldiers were gone. One of the original camel drivers was a man named Haji Ali. Americans called him Hi Jolly. He was part scout, part handler, part desert problem solver. He stayed in Arizona after the program ended and became a prospector, a frontier courier, a legend to the people that worked with him and knew him personally. And when he died in 1902, they buried him under a stone pyramid in Quartzsite, Arizona, topped with a copper metal camel, the Red Ghost himself. The camels didn't get monuments, but at least one of them got a legend. Killing the Red Ghost didn't stop the story. Over the years, its myth only grew, in size and in imagination. Some said it shimmered like heat off the horizon, dragged chains behind it. Others swore it left no tracks, breathed smoke, and carried the stench of death with it. One rancher swore he tried to rope it in the dark and was nearly killed for his efforts. No two versions of the stories were the same, but all of them ended the same way, with a beast too big to be forgotten. And even today, in books and bonfire stories, the Red Ghost still lingers. A monster born from a real animal, and a story that refused to die. Perhaps the Red Ghost was always desert theater, the kind of thing people tell when the nights get too quiet and the horizon feels too wide, when tourists and children stare too deep into the campfire. Or maybe it was something else, a real animal twisted by time, heat, and fear, made unforgettable by the sheer absurdity of its existence. But it's earned its place among the great beasts of legend, red, towering, and ridden by the devil.